Welcome back to the Winner Circle. I am here with Alon from enSights, and they are a new energy management platform specifically building around the renewable energy sector. This is a huge industry coming into America, and they are tackling it with a software first approach. And we are so excited because they are a 2026 Big Innovation Award winner. Congratulations, and welcome to the Winner Circle.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here. Honored.
Yeah, and why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself and a little bit of background on enSights?
Wow. Where start from? so, happy to be here. My name is Alon Mashkovich, one of the co-founder and CEO of enSights, married with three kids that they are my life, eventually bringing all the happiness and the purpose to building enSights. enSights, we are an energy business management solution here in order to make sure that all these renewables we see them growing everywhere will and produce all this energy and won't miss all this energy that today got lost. So we've started building the business out of our own pain in order to solve these problems and to make it very easy to use and easy to solve.
Well, yeah, and I was doing a little bit of research on enSights and kind of the market that you guys have, and it's really interesting because it reminds me of the cable TV market back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, where you had all these kind of local disparate cable TV franchises and nothing was standardized. Everybody was popping up everywhere. You kind of had corporations running cable, you kind of had mom and pops running cable. And it seems like the renewables kind of in a kind of a similar state. You've got kind of fragmentation everywhere, and just somebody said, millions or billions of businesses in the U.S. that are doing this.
It's a good analogy. I think I will use it. Definitely. So yeah, we see that this market is definitely based on legacy products and different legacy solutions out there that making the life very hard for asset owners and renewable energy assets to really make what they should make. And the grid is also a bit broken, let's say, let's be honest, that is not here to support all the new innovative solutions that are going live. So definitely this is what we see. And here, in order to provide an innovative approach and bring them to reality as they should be, because they are an active creatures, let's say, hardware components that are spread across, and they are operating based on our weather. If you have sun, so they are generating. If you don't have, we're losing, so we have storage. And again, based on legacy, it is not capable to support all these innovative solutions. So I like your comparison. Definitely, this is
Yeah,
exactly
well,
what.
it took a lot of M&A to kind of get cable shaken out, just in time for them to kind of reimagine their business, as the video kind of dies. Well, it's super interesting. So, how did you spot this problem when you started to develop enSights? What did you see out there? How were you involved in this?
So I've been working over a decade as an energy business consultant. And together with my co-founders, we have been struggling by doing all this manual work. As you said, eventually we had an analog TV. Today we have streaming. It's different play. So we have been analyzing tons of data manually, basically based on different CSV files, Excels. And we said that it is impossible to scale and continue to do all this manual work. So we've started to look into a solution that will make our life easier. And we didn't find something that was really accessible and easy to use. Before entering to the energy space as a consultant, I have been working as strategic business and business consultant, and they taught me that everything you do, you should kiss, and keep it simple. Let's say. So this is what we try to do. It, and energy is far beyond simple. So we started to look into things. Didn't found something. We had tons of data. Data is not a problem, but clean data, good data, this is the problem. So it came out of our own pain. We started to develop something very small to solve our pain. And today it became enSights in order to make sure that all this data is clean enough, especially when we're coming to the AI era, that everything based on AI. But if you have not good data, the AI won't be good. So all these data that we're gathering, prioritizing, and providing to our partners and customers in order to make their life easier, enabling their scale and making more energy out of it.
So just to kind of step back, I'm an asset owner, which means I've got either fields or rights to a field or rights to rooftops, and I've got deployed solar panels all over those, and I've got an energy supply coming in, and so I hook into your system, and it's monitoring all of those assets, and then all of them together as kind of as my portfolio. It sounds like so it's almost like your Salesforce or something for your operations. So, how did you know how to plug into all the different platforms that are out there? I mean, I imagine there's homegrown stuff. I imagine, kind of like you're saying, there's CSVs and APIs and now MCPs. So, how did you start tapping in and figuring out which systems you needed to connect with?
Customer centric, very focused on our customers and on the brands and vendors that are out there. You mentioned monitoring. So maybe it's important to say that the challenge is not only the monitoring of all these assets, it's really maintaining the decisions and the confidence across these decisions as this complexity across all these vendors increases. So, for example, as you mentioned, the asset owner who owns dozens, hundreds, and thousands of assets probably back then 10 years ago, maybe even less, you had one, two, three leading vendors. So we've started out of the large vendors out there based on our customer base. And we have grew it as our customer grew. So we started off the common one, expanded it, and the integrations easy at first, maybe with the most common APIs, but it's not the real life scenario and it's not how it works in scale. Actually, we have served many of these vendors as design partners, supporting their different APIs in order to make sure that they will survive the scale. So when you are tapping into 10 assets, fine, 50, okay, you need to struggle, but 100, 1,000, and thousands, it's a different play. So I hope it answered your question.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about kind of managing these things and monitoring and doing the analysis as you kind of tap into that customer and they kind of sign off and you kind of give them that month end report or 3 months report. What are they shocked by? Having come from this kind of disconnected world into this new connected world. What is their first kind of experience?
You touched about a very painful point, reports, which takes to average company around weeks every month to generate reports. Until it gets to the executive level, it is outdated. So the gap is pretty long. And we are shortening the cycle by integrating enSights. With a click of a button, you generate reports to all of your stakeholders with enriched data based on clean data and standardized one. So I think one of the shocking facts that we have witnessed is one customer that has not a big portfolio, around 50 sites, and we have identified around 30% of his portfolio underperforming
Hmm.
for a long, long, long time. And it's pretty not so common. It's pretty common that we've done a research that we have done 3 times year over year, and we've discovered that over 70% of systems are not meeting their planned outputs. It is insane because everyone losing energy and losing money. And then they are surprised where this leak is coming from. So I think these facts are fascinating that today still you are losing and you cannot identify where from. So I think this point pretty strong.
So you're now going to be a great source of kind of I guess industry data. You're going to have all these platforms plugged into your system, and it'll be interesting to say, hey, maybe you could tell us now what percentage of kind of assets are underperforming these days.
You are definitely right. We have on the backend pretty interesting data that we see in some scenarios which vendors are providing the most best outcomes and where you should put them and which one you should prioritize and maybe think twice before you install them because the installation cost will be higher because of the equipment is a bit complex. On the other side of things, we have also a lot of data that we use in order to make comparisons and then also to provide peripheral data and provide more actionable insights. So even if you're taking into consideration weather, irradiance, and other metrics, it is much more powerful when you are seeing how your environment behaves. So I think this is the way to go.
Now, I know you guys are bringing AI. We touched on it earlier. I imagine that your customers, as you deploy AI into these situations, your system's already been kind of looking back and saying, "Hey, this is how it performed. This is might look, what you might do," and you kind of give that consultation to your client. I would think with AI, you now move from that kind of reactive mode into, proactive mode, going like, "Hey, you should double the size of that field because that one's performing." I would imagine it gives you some real new capabilities.
Definitely. But you should be very, very, very careful by using AI because if the data is not good and not structured, so AI only accelerates the decision, but only after you really can trust the data. So the data source is the first step. Yes, AI accelerates many different things. And usually I start by saying that I wish that our industry will use at least 10% of what we have already before moving to AI, but we need to keep the pace and be innovative. So yes, the AI definitely accelerated, and we see a lot of impact when it comes to attaching storage assets, not only solar. Solar are pretty easy to handle, let's say, in comparison to storage. When it starts with integration of storage and taking into consideration the not only how the system should perform, make different ancillary services, arbitrage and others, but you also need to make sure that you are not killing the battery, that you are using with the battery in the right resources and not pushing her to the edge. Batteries are pretty gentle. So definitely AI helps in it. But the foundation must be very, very, very robust on data and trust the data. And because if the foundation will be noisy and inconsistent, so AI simply accelerate these
Right.
inconsistencies. So we
It
use,
makes the problem bigger.
yep,
It's the
exactly.
ripple. Yeah. So you keep talking about data and the cleanliness of data, and I'm a big believer in that. It's interesting, even in your own data that you think's super clean and perfect, you kind of start digging in, and you're like, "Oh, well, that's not right," or the system misinterpreted that. Um, what are the biggest challenges that you see from a data side for these systems? What's the errors, and what are you having to clean out?
Wow. You're touching a very sensitive point. Definitely, it's the feedback loop. The feedback loop is very, very, very important because we're building our own modules on based on this data. So before we release everything, we're trying to do everything we can and also to beta test it with hundreds of use cases that will be able to provide us with a feedback loop in order to make sure that what the AI is suggesting or providing will be trustful. So a lot of it around the data cleaning and enrichment, because this is the basics. And then the recommendations. So we have on our platform many different functionalities, which allows a full cycle of management, starting from the basic data acquisition, but going through the whole life cycle, including ticketing and providing a troubleshooting agents and report and more. So closing all these loops and getting the feedback from the end user to make sure that what we are suggesting is real and good, this is the main challenge. There are people that are very, uh, um, let's say, want to keep their all secrets to themselves. So we have separated tenants in order to make sure that things are not going to other ways. So I think these are the 2 points, making sure that everyone gets what they want, but also making sure that no one getting false positive, let's say. False
Right.
positive is something that we're really trying to eliminate. So I think these are the main two things if we're talking about the AI enrichment and the data.
Yeah. Well, now you mentioned the big kind of trend of solar kind of moving to this storage platforms, and you guys are doing a lot of work there too. And you think about it, you think, oh, you just start making solar energy and you put it into the grid and everything's good. You're like, no, sometimes you got to store it and sell it, and it's like gas, right? They're moving in ships and everything else. What are the challenges facing those teams as storage becomes kind of a bigger part of the solution?
I think one thing is evaluating what should be the best size and use case of the storage to be attached for solar or storage standalone. And no one knows additional revenue streams that can be attached to it. So really choosing the best size, the best product that will be there as you scale, and also choosing the right partner that will enable it to happen. Again, storage is a new to the market. We have so many data centers coming live. We have so many use cases, the prices. So really to understand how you design the best use case and also be able to forecast what you will need to do in the future in order to support in new use cases around this storage. Um, yeah, I think these ones.
What percentage of a of an investment when you're building one of these fields, these renewable storage fields or energy fields, what percentage of your investment is locked up in storage generally versus the solar panels and everything else?
Wow, it seems that all the industry is shifting from solar to storage. It seems that the main growth is going to come from the storage and the need is there. So the grid is not capable to support all these high demand and all these infrastructure is not ready to that.
Yeah.
So storage definitely very high percent. And I think on every call that I have today with partners and colleagues, everyone talk about it. And I
Yeah, people don't realize that there is well, maybe they do. There's a fight for energy right now between EV makers and or EVs and the electronic vehicles, and then the huge data center deployments. I was in that business for a long time, and you had entire countries who were banning data centers. Singapore, for example, was banning data centers because they didn't have enough energy. And what the amazing thing that happened is when Singapore did that, what happened is you had all those businesses start up right outside Singapore because there was energy in the countries, surrounding. And so there's this massive glut. And you see all the data center providers spinning up nuclear, facilities that have been dormant for 30 years. And
yeah,
the latest one was and I joked with a Navy SEAL about this about a year ago of digging up old nuclear submarine assets and redeploying them as nuclear energy depots. And so there's this massive strain on the energy business as data centers are consuming more and more. So
and then the next point is the cybersecurity around it because it's becoming a very 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 important point that you may need to make sure that is over 100% protected.
yeah, I mean we're seeing the impact of energy politics, right? All
Yeah.
around the world, and it's of national interest. So what you guys are doing is very interesting, kind of bringing this all together and giving us kind of that centralized view of it. Um, yeah, it's what success look for a customer after 6 months or 12 months of being on the platform?
I will quote one of our first ones back, I think, 2 years ago here in North America that said that whenever it's raining, I know that I can trust you, that you can bring me an umbrella. So it was really attaching because we know that a company that handles hundreds of sites until now the assets were there but no one know if they are good or bad, and eventually we came in and provided him with the ability to really measure their performance and make sure that they are hitting their targets. So I think it's this is why we're here, in order to make sure that these assets are performing at maximum capacity all the time. It impacts everyone. So I think these affects the most. And a success with a customer looks like that, yeah, he implements our solution. We have a plug and play. So after he started to work, when he gets his, let's say, keyboard on it, or he enters to the platform and sees, and we see the impact very fast, because this is why we're here, to make it easy, fast, and simple. I think this is a success, making sure
Yeah.
that their assets are performing and performing perfectly.
And if you had one thing to tell these kind of renewable operators as they start to look to scale, if you could tell them one thing to remember or to know or a tip, what would you tell them?
I think that the most important thing is to control the data. So you are the owner of the systems. You need to control the data without other lock-ins. And it's not about innovation in energy and technology. It's about really restoring confidence in making these decisions that are based on data, and a good data. So I think this is the most important thing, that we need to make sure, that the customers need to make sure, that the partners, that all the owners, that they control the data and are able to really trust it. And because we're hearing so many disappointments about all this performance, and everything going back to the beginning: good data, good structure, and building everything on top of it.
And as you guys are looking out kind of 12 or 18 months at this market, what excites you most?
Hmm. I think that today we're in a point that finally the industry understands that they need to make sure that the assets are performing, and not only trust the incentives and flip them from one to another, but really, I think the winner will be the one who makes sure that the assets are at maximum performance. And this is an exciting moment, because we see it, we see the performing, we know that it is capable to do more. And finally, when the asset owners understand that and starting to shift into really focusing on it, I think this is the most important. And for sure, the storage stuff, because storage is going to be a game changer in the industry.
It's super interesting market. I never realized it was this big of a market. You know, you drive around and see solar installations, and I don't think anything of them. I usually think they're municipality owned or something, but they're not. So super interesting market. You guys are right in the middle of it. Congratulations on the win and all the success, and we look forward to seeing what you guys will do next.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot.